there are conspiracies in this world. That is why there are anti-conspiracy laws,
Sure.
because they happen, right? So it's not nuts to believe that there are conspiracies that happen here. And
Right.
then add to that a very fraternal organization that is designed that way, and that's both in policing, military, stuff like that. It's very fraternal. So you would, uh, I it, I guess what I how I should say it is, it would not be surprising for somebody to want to protect the organization more than to protect necessarily a person, or it becomes maybe more important that the organization remain unstained, and so people who wouldn't otherwise engage in a conspiracy might have an incentive to do that. And and so that's, I guess what I'm wondering is the Boston PD kind of what I just described? Is there corruption in the Boston PD? And is there enough incentive for people to cover up for one another on this kind of stuff?
Clearly, they've had a history of corruption. Okay. My personal theory is this: these guys were drunk. Fight happened. An oh shit moment happened. They panicked. They didn't know what to do. I believe the owner of the house, right, has a checkered past, right? I said in a live not too long ago, a live stream, John O'Keefe, his bruises had the calling card of Brian Albert. And what did I mean by that? Brian Albert has been has beaten several Boston cops physically off duty drinking.
Is
He
Brian Albert a Boston cop?
he retired. He
Okay.
was a sergeant of the and this is where I'm going to end it. He was a sergeant of a high speed fugitive apprehension unit. Okay.
Okay.
Now, my belief is he had a black book. Hey, listen, all cops keep a book, right? Especially if you're corrupt.
What is the
And
book?
the book basically is okay, on such and such a date, I did a favor for this high end official. On such and such a date, I used specialized equipment that I shouldn't have used to wiretap a person for a political whatever. All right.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
my theory is that after this thing went down and it's the oh shit moment that they can't get out of,
Yeah.
he made a phone call to someone to say, if I go down, we're all going down. So somehow the wheels were put in motion between 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Enough calls were made. And I believe that's really how the FBI got involved, because I believe they were already on either a public corruption case or another investigation in that area. Because let's face it, Gavin, the feds don't investigate hit and runs or
Of course.
domestic assaults.
Yeah.
And, even though it's a Boston police officer, right? I believe someone with power was able to get guys who were pretty good guys, like those state troopers were probably pretty good guys, to risk their careers and risk their freedom to frame Karen Reed. I completely, wholeheartedly believe that um, Karen was definitely framed by a bunch of bad actors that were protecting someone. I
Okay.
believe the FBI know I believe they know who it is.
So do you think that will be a case that is brought eventually? There will be some federal
Absolutely.
case around this?
It's come to the forefront now. All right. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. Um, there was one point I wanted to make with you. Okay, so speaking of plow drivers, there was a plow driver that was going down the street that night. Okay.
All right.
His name is Lucky Lochran. Okay. Nice
Lucky
guy.
Lochran?
Yeah. Brian, I guess his name is Brian Lochran.
Of course
Okay. Come on.
That might be the
Irish.
best name I've ever heard in my life. Okay. All right.
His
Lucky
brother,
Lochran.
his brother's on the select board. Okay. This is crazy.
Okay.
Another Albert is on the select board. Uh, the FBI gets a hold of Brian Lochran early on. I'm talking very early on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And his story is this. Well, I went down to sand or salt the street at say 2 o'clock. Now you know how it is, right? You out
Yeah.
there in Pennsylvania, right? The
Yep.
big halogen lights, they light up like it's on the moon, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't see no body at 2:30, and I didn't see a body at 3:30 when I came back for another swing. But when I came down for the third swing, I couldn't go down because there was a suspicious vehicle outside where he said later on when I found out where John was found, that vehicle was parked right by the area where John was found. He is on FBI's a statement claiming that.
Okay. All right. So I want to get to people's questions. We have like almost 500 comments now, and thank you for those super chats. By the way, you guys are awesome.
Beautiful.
But I want to get to some of these questions.
Sure. But just real quick,
what do you? But what do you? Oh, go ahead.
We've advanced now. The FBI has in fact come clean that they did approximately a 2-year investigation, and probably it's still going on other aspects of the case, where they investigated the murder of John O'Keefe. They provided 3,000 pages to both the defense and the prosecution under this thing called the TUI process.
Okay.
The TUI process was a Supreme Court decision that came out many, many years ago that allows a federal agency, if they're not a litigant in a case, like for instance, in this case, they're not involved. They're not involved technically in the prosecution of Karen Reed. So in TUI, they said, okay, we're going to provide you with all the exculpatory evidence we uncovered during our own investigation. Because they hauled all the state troopers in. They hauled in all the witnesses that the Commonwealth is about to use this week in this trial to the federal grand jury. And Brian Higgins, who's the ATF agent that was in the house, signed a proffer agreement, and he sat down with FBI agents and a U.S. attorney, assistant U.S. attorney, and gave a proffer. And that proffer was read out in some format, not the whole thing, where Yannetti said, and during the federal proffer, Brian Higgins admitted to destroying his cell phone and tearing up his SIM card because he was told to do so by Michael Morrissey, the DA. And he also said, Morrissey told Brian Albert to do the same thing. That's huge. Huge. Why the hell are they going to trial, Gavin?
Well, that was going to be my next question. That was the one I was going to ask. Like, okay, so there's tons of exculpatory evidence, which when that is presented to a jury, exculpatory evidence becomes reasonable doubt eventually, right?
Yes.
So I mean, what is your number one? Why are they prosecuting it with all that? And number two, what is your thought as far as, do you think a reasonable jury would convict Karen Reed?
All right. Answer number one. Mike Morrissey, the DA, has nothing to lose. He's going to scorch his first assistant. That poor guy he's going to get blown up in this case. His witnesses.
What do you mean he has nothing to lose? Is he retiring?
No. Well, it's a political thing. He wants to find out what the feds have on him. So any more information he can garner or glean, because the defense said, we're having federal agents testify. The feds also did two things. Categorically denied that John could ever have been hit by that car. That's number one. They got this super high-speed analyst at an ARRC. 3 people with PhDs are going to come in with their 3D animations and show it's impossible, and that's their quote, that SUV hit John, or John was even had contact with the SUV, because the injuries are not consistent. That's going to be brought up. And then the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, searched Jen McCabe's phone, and this is the other part, at 2:27, long before John was found, and after she got home to her residence, she Googled how long to die in the cold.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gavin. There's so much. I should have told that earlier.
Oh, criminals are so stupid, man.